Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Honest Plan podcast. I am your girl, your host, Tiana Hicks. I am a certified financial educator and the founder of the Honest Plan. And can I just start off by saying, if you clicked on this video in the time that I am releasing it, just shout out to you. Shout out to you for taking 20 to 30 minutes to pour into yourself and not scroll aimlessly getting into all of the Chris Rock and Will Smith drama, because y'all, we're similar. So I know it is so hard not to get sucked into what is going on social media. And then the next thing you know, you've been scrolling for hours and you feel like you have not accomplished anything. So I had to say, like, Tiana, it's enough. It's enough of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the things today. Let's get up and let's do something productive. So shout out to you for being productive and honestly just kicking it with me for the next, 20 to 30 minutes. So truly, truly appreciate you. So this week we are talking about something that is extremely controversial in the debt-free community. I'm sure if you have a favorite financial educator outside of myself, I'm sure you might have heard a lot of different things as it relates to debt, as it relates to credit, and even credit cards. Some people say that credit is bad. Some people say you do not need any credit cards, cut up them all, toss them in the trash. But for me, in my house, I love credit cards. My credit cards specifically have allowed me to do some pretty amazing things, such as traveling to Jamaica on my honeymoon for $300. And that was for me and my husband. We went to Jamaica for $300. I was able to fly one of my good friends into my wedding for free. I went to a business conference in the beginning of this year for free. I've done some really fun things with my credit card. So I don't know about y'all, but over here, I am going to continue to use my credit card as a money management tool, to help me get closer to any of my goals, and not more so look at it as something that can set me back. Of course, I'm not going to be naive. I understand the importance of, paying it off and all those other type of things. But for today's episode, let's just get into leveraging your credit, making your credit work for you. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is because I feel like, I don't know for you, but for myself, growing up, I heard so many horror stories of what credit can be. Oh, credit is so bad, or, if it wasn't for these credit cards, or I have credit card debt up to my head. I just can't even get ahead. And so I was told, not to get a credit card until I graduated college and all of these things. But being a young, Being a young, hard-headed little girl, because that's what I was rebellious and I wanted to do the complete opposite because, of course, I guess I thought I knew it all. But to my surprise, I did not. And I'm sure some of you guys can just kind of relate to that. So I went off to college and I got my first credit card. I got a Wells Fargo college rewards credit card. As you know, when you go off to college, like you're looked at kind of like as fresh meat to these credit card companies. They are going to start to, and it's not even going off to college actually. So let me rewind that. It's once you turn 18, like once you are of age to be on your own credit card, that's when you start to see all of these credit card companies sending you all of these ads in the mail, and they're talking so good, and you're like, okay, yeah, like let me go ahead and sign on. For me, I looked at credit cards as free money. Yeah. Embarrassing, but I did. I looked at credit cards as free money when I was in school. So it wasn't long with me having the card before I was completely maxed out. completely wiped out. I believe I had a limit of either $1,000 or $1,300. It was a fairly low limit. And I maxed it out with by buying Christmas gifts. I was buying stuff from Victoria's Secrets when they had, what was the 5 for $27 underwear deal. Ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about. And all of the things, like I was decked out in things that I couldn't even afford because I was looking at my credit card as free money, not understanding the importance of your utilization rate, not understanding that I was just now building my credit for the first time. And what I was doing is I was damaging my credit before I even gave it time to grow. So all I had on my credit was the one credit card, and then I had a few student loans from my first semester of college. So really no credit, and I was already off to a rocky start. So fast forward a little bit, then I get into some other things with not paying bills on time. It ended up having 2 payments in collections. And you guys, I just want to paint a picture of where I came from. So this episode, it doesn't feel like I'm talking at you, but I'm talking with you. I know what it feels like to be on both ends of the spectrum. So I know what it feels like to say, no, Tiana, my credit cards are not a money management tool. Actually, my credit cards have me by the neck, and I'm so sick and tired of it. I know what that feels like. And I also know what it feels like to say, oh no, my credit cards allow me to travel for free. My credit card gives me more options. So that is why I am painting, the story and the picture of really where I started on this debt-free journey. So like I was saying, I had ended up having 2 payments in collection. So when I graduated college, that is what I was going into. So super, super terrified to apply to my first big girl apartment on my own, because I was like, surely they're going to see how I've been managing my money so far, and they're not going to give me, this apartment, or I'm going to have to put down a larger deposit. I was just so stressed out already, at 21, 22. And then I got to a point where I was like, Tiana, this cannot go on any longer. I really got to a point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I said, what do I need to do to erase all the things that I've done? I got to a point where I was able to accept that this is the mess that I made. This is not something that is going to be erased overnight. It's going to take some time, but I'm willing and I'm ready to do the work that needs to be done to get myself out of this mess. So right now, me and the ladies inside of the Paycheck to Pocket Club are reading a book from Clever Girl Finance. It's their book, Clever Girl Finance, Ditch Debt, Save Money, and Build Real Wealth. And just one thing that stuck out to me that kind of relates to this story on page 6 is she says, just like getting in shape, getting your finances in order does not happen overnight. If it did, we'd all be rich by morning. And it's certainly not always fun. Sometimes it can be downright annoying, frustrating, and stressful. But getting things in order is 100% worth it. Then a little bit further down the page, she says, but before you start making those plans, it's important to have the right mindset in place. In other words, you have to first and foremost decide that you can. And I wanted to share that little piece in the book because that's exactly where I was. I was in a place where I understood this was going to take some time, and I understood that I could rewrite my wrongs. So if you can resonate with my story and you are a person that is willing and ready to repay your debt and start building your credit, then you have clicked on the right podcast, and I am going to give you tips on how to do that and what it looks like to really leverage your credit to do bigger and better things in your life. Because let's just face it, Credit card debt and hearing all the horror stories are not the only things that credit cards are about. And you can do so much more. I want you to do so much more. I want that for you. And I feel like since you clicked on this episode, you want that for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing that I want you to do if you are trying to pay off your debt is I want you to find a plan that works best for you. This is not a one size fits all type of thing. You can mix and match and plug and chug a lot of different plans or a lot of different ideas from other people to find what really works for you. So some of the most common ones are like the Debt Snowball or the Debt Avalanche. And the Debt Snowball is when you list out your debt payments from lowest balance to the highest. You start by repaying the debt with the lowest balance, and then you move on and you move up from there until you get to your last one, which would have the highest balance. And the idea with the Debt Snowball method is that you are supposed to pay additional payments to your lowest payment while only paying the minimum balance on everything else to allow you to pay that debt off quicker. And once you pay that off, then you take all of the money that you were previously paying to your lowest debt and you move it on to your next debt that's in line. So it's called the Debt Snowball method because it just continues to get bigger little by little. And that is a great way to tackle your debt if you're just getting started. The Debt Avalanche, however, is a little different. So it's kind of flipped. So the Debt Avalanche is when you are tackling the debt that has the highest interest rate, and then you're going down from there. So the Debt Snowball is really tailored to people that kind of like that instant gratification thing. So say that you have a credit card payment that's maybe $300 and you want to go ahead and pay that off quickly so that you can like actually see the numbers getting lower, or so that you can actually check the box, check something off your list and feel like you accomplished something. Then the Debt Snowball is for you because it'll allow you to do that in a short period of time. However, if you choose to do the Debt Avalanche, that does save you money because you're paying off the debt with the highest interest first. So 9 times out of 10, the debt with the highest interest is the one that's costing you more per month. However, it's going to take you a little bit longer to actually, get that first check mark because the debt with the highest interest might have also the highest balance. So it really just depends. So this is what I mean by plugging and chugging. Maybe you want to go ahead and knock out your $300 credit card and then move over to the Debt Avalanche. Or maybe you want to tackle the card that has the highest interest rate and then move over to the Debt Snowball. However you do it, as long as you get it done, that is all that matters. I also want to point out that it's really important when you're on this journey to pinpoint what your priorities are. I am not the coach that will tell you to sell everything in your house, to, do a all noodles, ramen noodle diet. I am not that coach because I love to travel. I love to have nice experiences. To go out to eat with my friends. I enjoy those type of things. And I feel like as millennials, as people like kind of fresh out of college, we deserve to have those things, but it's just prioritizing what's most important for you and understanding that on this journey, you might have to learn how to live in moderation and not elimination. So moderation might look like, okay, friends, I cannot go out every single Saturday with you all, but I'm more than happy to go out twice a month or once a month. And, let's have us a great old time. But I just can't do it, 4 times a month because right now, a huge priority to me is getting my credit in order or paying off debt and things like that. I think it's also really important to make this journey fun. This journey is not going to be an overnight success. So do not make it a daunting task that you are doing for like 5 years. Who in the world wants to suffer and live a miserable life for 5 years. Make it something that is fun and engaging. Something that I did when I was first paying off my credit card debt was I printed out like these little printable sheets and these templates. So every time that I made a debt payment, I would shade in another level, and I could actually visualize myself getting closer and closer and closer to the goal of paying it off. And I'm a visual person, so that is something that worked for me. And I also like rewarded myself like every like quarter of the way. So once I hit my first like 25% paid off, I, did something nice for myself. Again, moderation, not elimination. So it wasn't anything like extravagant, but maybe I, took myself out to get, a $40 pedicure or something to celebrate the small wins. You do not have to wait until your credit card or your debt is all paid off to celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself now. Create a brag jar. This is something that me and some of my clients are doing. We are creating a brag jar because sometimes you get in a space where you're like, I have not done anything that I'm proud of, or I just have missed the mark. And sometimes you need to remind yourself like, no, I am that girl. Like, I am doing exactly what I said I would do. I am doing exactly what I prioritized on my New Year's resolutions or my New Year's goals. So no, let me go and let me dig my hand in my jar and read all of the things that I am grateful for, all of the things that I've accomplished this year. And it's the small things. It does not have to be, okay, yeah, I just got a promotion of $10,000 increase or anything like that. So that is some homework that I want you guys to do after listening to this podcast. Create you a brag jar. Go get you a mason jar from Dollar General or Dollar Tree for $1 and decorate it all nice and start bragging on yourself. Because on this journey, especially if you are paying off debt and if you are someone that gets so like obsessed with credit scores, and once you pay off your first credit card and you see your credit take a little dip instead of increase, you may want to scream. You may like hit a breaking point and say, Tiana, I am not paying off anything else because you told me that this is a way for me to be able to leverage my credit. However, my credit score dropped. No, I do not want you to get there. So do not be so overly obsessed with the journey that you cannot celebrate your wins. And also with that, just understand that your credit will have ebbs and flows. It might dip once you pay off your first credit card in full. However, it will go up. Trust me, I've done it. I've been there. It's going to dip and then it's going to go back up. Just enjoy the ride. Fasten your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. All right. Now let's get into the good stuff. So how I've been able to leverage my credit to do things like traveling for free is I waited to build my credit up to I want to say it was either a 760 or a 780 before I started to apply for like new debt and things like that. So I first did my research I follow some like amazing financial content creators and just following their story. So a lot of them talk about like how they were able to travel for free and things like that. So I heard about the Chase Sapphire Reserve card and then a Capital One Venture One card. Those are the two cards that I have that I use to travel for free. So on both of these cards, when you sign on, there's like a sign on, and you have to do the research to make sure that at the time that you're listening to this episode, that this is still something that they offer. But for me, when I sign on for these credit cards, they were having a sign-on bonus, which meant they were going to give me a certain amount of miles, which I could use for free travel. They would give me a certain amount of miles, if I spent $4,000 in the first 3 months of having the card. Okay, I know that listening to that, it might sound like, Tiana, you just walked me through paying off my credit card. Now you want me to rationalize putting $4,000 on my credit card for free travel. I am not saying that. That is just something that I did because it made sense for my financial situation. Everyone's finances are different. For me, I knew for sure that I already had $4,000 worth of expenses that were definitely going to come up within the next 3 months because I was planning a wedding. So I already had the money in a savings account. But instead of using my debit card for the expense, I swiped my credit card. So I did that for like our caterer, our videographer, and I may have done it for our photographer as well. So instead of paying the money out of my debit card, I paid it on my credit card, took the money out of my, the savings the savings bucket that we had for our wedding, and paid my credit card off. So I spent money that I already was planning on spending. However, I did it on my credit card so that I can get my sign-on bonus, which equaled up to $1,000 of free travel. So I did that for myself, and I was like, okay, that was great. Then I turned around and did it for my husband. Again, with wedding stuff. If you've ever planned a wedding or went to a wedding, weddings are expensive. So for sure, there was $8,000 that we had coming up to spend that we could leverage our credit card for and just pay it off with the money that we had already set aside for it. So just making sure that it makes sense for your specific financial situation. If you know your expenses for 3 months are well below $4,000, then you might want to look at a card that has a lower sign-on bonus payments that you have to actually pay. That you actually have to use, excuse me. So that could be the Capital One Venture One card. I want to say that I only had to spend $1,000 for that one in order to leverage $250 of free travel. So that was the Capital One Venture One card that has the $1,000 that you need to spend in the first 3 months. However, my Chase Sapphire card, I had to spend $4,000 in the first 3 months. So I did get my Capital One card first. And when I got it, I didn't really know the benefits of the sign-on bonus and the miles and things like that. So I will not even lie, on my Capital One card, when I first got it, I was actually using my miles for free Amazon purchases. But I ended up doing some research and found out that that is the biggest waste of your miles, because you end up using more miles for a free Amazon purchase than if you use it for travel. So I'm again, this goes back to priorities. Tiana, well, what's most important for you? Is it to be able to travel, or is it to get your Amazon purchases for free? Yeah, you do like to shop at Amazon. You might shop at Amazon more than you actually travel. However, what is the goal? Staying true to the goal. Once I realized that, I have not spent my miles on anything other than travel since then. I allow them to accrue. And then when it's time for me to do things like travel and I need to purchase flights or a hotel, even a rental car, I can use my miles for that and get it free or a discounted rate rather than checking out on Amazon. So hopefully that makes sense for you. Again, just figuring out what's a priority for you, making it work for your financial situation. So definitely, use what I'm saying here and do your own research and then figure out, which cards might be best for you. I will say that the Capital One Venture One card is a great, beginner friendly card. Like if you are someone that's just starting out, getting into miles and travel points and all of that jazz, because this card also does not have like annual fees. My Chase Sapphire card does have annual fees. I believe it's $95 for the year. For me though, that makes sense because the amount of money that I end up saving in travel, the card ends up paying for itself. I have a full video on my YouTube channel where I shared a little bit more about these two different cards and approval processes and all those type of things. So I will link that video into the show notes if you are interested in watching that. But I also want us to realize that credit and leveraging your credit is much more than just free travel, and it's much more than credit cards as well. You also see this come up when it's time to buy your first home or even get a new car. So I know for me, when my husband and I were in the market to build our first home, credit was something that was so important. Actually, sometimes you can't even get a realtor to actually, take you out and look for the homes until you get your first pre-approval. And then they'll start to actually take you and see what all is available for you and things like that. So not only does your credit and your debt to income ratio determine how much you can afford in a home, it also determines the interest rate that you receive. And that goes for both buying a house and buying a car. So I've seen on Instagram people talk about, oh, I bought this new car. I paid nothing. I have a 10% interest rate and I am paying $1,000 a month. I'm like, $1,000 a month? That is so expensive. Like I would not want to pay that in a car payment. And with an interest rate that large, it's like you end up paying double for the car. It's like a never-ending process. It becomes so much harder to dig yourself out of this hole, to get debt-free when you have this interest rate that is continuously working against you. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but a lot of the times your minimum payment that you are required to pay on your home, your car, your credit card, a lot of the times a big chunk of that, majority of that, is going back towards interest and then a little bit towards your principal. So that's why it takes so long for us to pay off debt and to actually be debt free with only paying the minimum. That is why you see things like the Debt Snowball method and the Debt Avalanche, because the minimum just isn't enough. The minimum payment is there and is in place to really keep you stuck, to keep you paying the interest in a little bit of debt. So something that could have taken you 2 to 3 years to pay off is now taking you 10 years. And when you go back and look at it, you're like, wait, I only had $2,000, $3,000 on this card. Why did I end up paying $7,000? Well, it's because of the interest rate. The interest rate is what you really have to keep your eye on. This is why with revolving debt, it's important for you not to bite off more than you can actually chew. And if you've already gotten yourself in that type of situation, it's fine. This is not an episode to have you beat yourself up. It is fine. Like we talked about, have a plan in place and start to attack this consumer debt or whatever type of debt that you have so that you can get out of this constant cycle of, just paying the interest or feeling like you haven't made that much of a difference on your actual overall debt total. All right, y'all. So that is a wrap for this episode of the Honest Plan podcast. I hope I was able to meet you exactly where you were. I hope I was able to give you some insight on what it looks like to actually leverage your credit to do more things than just the horror stories that we've been taught and that a lot of us, heard growing up. I hope I was able to, give you some insight on paying off debt and to just accept where you are in this journey and understand that it is a journey. It is just that. It is a journey. If you are needing more resources, more support, I have tons of resources. I have a community of women that are waiting to cheer you on inside of the Paycheck to Pocket Club. So definitely check us out. I'll have it linked in the show notes where you can kind of learn a little bit more about our community. And you guys, this is the last, Tuesday of March. So we are wrapping up Women's History Month. I feel like it's just lit to be a Black woman that is a financial educator, because in the beginning of the year, we have month after month after month that is like a time to just celebrate. So January, of course, everyone celebrates because it's a new year, new everything. February, we have Black History Month. March, we have Women's History Month. And then April, you guys, I don't know if you know, but April is Financial Literacy Month. So I am so excited to start to bring people on the podcast. I am a coach that teaches you how to make and keep more money. So during April, our Financial Literacy Month, I am going to be bringing in people to help us up level in our money, help us bring in more of the bag, help us manage more of our bag, and just to hear some stories from some women that have done some amazing things that are able to inspire us, to keep us going, to keep us, keep our eye on the goal. So I'm really, really excited to bring in some new people onto the podcast. Also, April is my birthday. So what I want for my birthday from all of my listeners, all of my amazing, amazing listeners, I would love to have, let's say, what's the goal? Let's say 55-star reviews in between Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Let's make that happen for me for my birthday in the Honest Plan podcast. Let's have 55-star reviews. So if this podcast has helped you in any type of way, I would love to have you rate it. I would love to have you tell a friend to join us over here because my goal and my mission is just to be able to pour into you, to help all of my fellow first gens just navigate and manage life as a new adult, as a new business owner, as someone that is trying to build wealth and start new when, this path has not been written for you. So if it has helped you in any way, shape, or form, I would love for you to leave me a 5-star review and just tell me, tell me how this has helped your life. But that is it for today. I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Bye.